I care about my players, I really do. And they know that I'm going to tell them the truth, and I'm going to give them some grace. I'm going to give them some love. So players don't really know what you know and how much you know until they know that you care.
What kind of team can we expect from you offensively and defensively?
Well, even in special teams, I think you're going to see a disciplined, tough football team because we're going to try to do the best we can to instill that through OTAs, minicamp, and training camp. You'll see a smart situational football team, okay, good, efficient quarterback play, okay, and like I said, our defense is a young, talented defense. You got to play on every single level. They're going to attack, and on offense, we're not going to play to not lose. We're going to play to win.
On Monday, January 4th, 2021, the Anthony Lynn chapter in Los Angeles Charger football was put to a respectable end. This finished off 4 years of average to below average play, with one anomaly in the middle of it all. Lynn kicked off the Los Angeles chapter of Charger football in 2017, and he was taking over a team that severely underperformed a year ago, including a Christmas Eve loss to the 0-15 Cleveland Browns. The season kicked off with a loss against the Denver Broncos due to a missed kick that would have sent the game into overtime. This would be the beginning of a storied tradition of the Chargers and losing games due to miraculous special teams errors, or letting the team back in the game late, or just failing to close games in general. This would become a staple of Anthony Lynn's time as the Los Angeles Chargers head coach. Week 2 was against the Miami Dolphins, and besides Antonio Gates breaking the record for most receiving touchdowns as a tight end, there wasn't really anything special that happened in this game. It was very sloppy overall. But of course, the game came down to a field goal, and of course, the Chargers missed it. And I think it's important for us to all take a listen to the audio of that kick.
On the way. And he missed it.
Now, I don't know if you heard that, but the Chargers fired off the cannons after they lost the game and missed the kick, which I think is one of the most Charger things that happened that whole season. I will play the audio again for you to hear.
And he missed it.
Well, even in special teams, I think you're going to see a disciplined, tough football team.
So now the Chargers have played 2 games, and they've both come down to field goals. One to tie and one to win. And the Chargers missed both of them. Now, this is really the beginning of the Chargers' MO of not being able to win one-score games. And it really starts with Anthony Lynn as the head coach. Now, of course, Mike McCoy and Norv Turner both had some really bad one-score losses when they were the head coach, but it really started to take off with Anthony Lynn. Week 3 was against the Kansas City Chiefs, and in typical Charger fashion, Philip Rivers threw 2 interceptions on the first 2 drives of the game, spotting Kansas City a 14-0 lead. But despite all of that, the Chargers were only down 17-10 going into halftime, and it wasn't until the final 2 minutes of the game where Kareem Hunt put the game away with a 50-yard run to make it 24-10. Now, I don't think coaching was really the issue with this game here. The defense played phenomenally, and they only allowed Kansas City to score 24 points off of 3 Philip Rivers turnovers. I think if Rivers had better ball security this game, the Chargers would have had a much better chance of winning, so this outcome is really not that surprising. The Chargers would then go on to play the Philadelphia Eagles at home and lose 24-26. But after this, the Chargers were able to go on a 9-3 run, which put them at 9-7 overall. This was not enough for a playoff game, and I think it all comes down to the game against Jacksonville, which was a complete and utter mess for Anthony Lynn and the Chargers.
We saw the Chargers kickoff man shielding his eyes, so now
It's a fake. It's Corey Grant up the middle. He's got the first down and more. Grant still going at the 30.
Well, even in special teams, I think you're going to see a disciplined, tough football
touchdown! The Jags fooling their way in the end zone again.
Now the Jags game was a complete mess because it started off with that fake punt to give the Jags a 6-0 lead, but then the Chargers and rookie Austin Eckler came back with 2 receiving touchdowns to give them a 14-6 lead. The Jags fired back with a touchdown and 2-point conversion, and then in the fourth quarter, the Chargers got a field goal to make it 17-14. After that is when the game starts to get a little wacky, because with 2 minutes left in the game, Blake Bortles throws an INT and the Chargers take over at around the 50-yard line. All they need to do to win the game is get 2 or 3 first downs to make Jacksonville burn all their timeouts and then close out the rest of the clock. However, that is not at all what happened, and on 1st and 15, the Chargers hand the ball to rookie Austin Eckler, and he makes a huge rookie mistake. Instead of handing the ball off to seasoned vet Melvin Gordon, the ball goes to Eckler and it's punched out. Jacksonville recovers, and it appears to be a scoop and score. However, this got called back as it was rolled down by contact, but Jacksonville still had the ball late. So now all they need to do is move the ball a little bit and they can kick a field goal to send the game into overtime. But Blake Bortles throws another interception and the Chargers take the ball back over with a minute 25. They run it 3 straight times and get stuffed and give the ball back to Jacksonville, who converts the field goal, sending the game into overtime. So 3rd and 9, Rivers drops back and he throws an interception, giving Jacksonville the ball, and the returner takes it all the way down to the 2-yard line, setting up a Josh Lambo game-winning field goal. Now, Lambo had gotten cut from the Chargers the year before because he never made those game-winning kicks, and here he is making a game-winning kick against his former team, making this one called the Josh Lambo Revenge Game. This game completely comes down to coaching. They had the ball 2 times with less than 2 minutes to go in the game, and they failed to get a first down either time. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs, when they need to close out a game, they don't just abandon the passing game altogether. We see Patrick Mahomes throw it in critical 3rd and 2nd downs all the time. Now, when you have a Hall of Famer in Phillip Rivers, you don't need to run the ball every single down to try and get a first down. You can afford to pass it a few downs to try and get that critical first down to close out the game altogether. But the Chargers coaching staff and Anthony Lynn did not do that. Now, to wrap up the 2017 season, the Chargers had 3 games that they lost that were not because of coaching. Both times against the Kansas City Chiefs and the game against the New England Patriots. The 2018 season was an anomaly, and here's why. For one, it's sandwiched between a 9-7 year and a 5-11 year. Great teams and great coaches have consistency, and that is something the Chargers have lacked for decades. Both the Tennessee Titans and the Baltimore Ravens both have made the playoffs 3 out of the last 4 years, and their one down year was a 9-7 year. Now, the Chargers went 7-1 in one-score games this season, and their one loss was a very fluky game against the Denver Broncos that ended 23-22. This game, a lot like the Jags game, was really wacky. The Chargers had the ball with 2 minutes to go, and the Broncos had no timeouts. Unlike in Jacksonville where they had 3 timeouts, the Broncos had 0 timeouts, and they still somehow threw this game away. This comes down to Gus Bradley's trash 2-minute defense that we've come accustomed to seeing all throughout the past 3 seasons. There's absolutely no reason for the 3-6 Denver Broncos to lead a 90-yard, 2-minute drive with no timeouts to win the game on a field goal. Now, despite the Denver Broncos travesty, the Chargers actually witnessed some miraculous games this season, especially the one Week 13 in Pittsburgh. We enter with the Chargers down 23-7. Phillip Rivers throws a horrible pass that should have been picked off, but Keenan Allen recovers and gets the touchdown. Now the Chargers down 23-13 need to go for 2 to make it a 2-possession game, and they do that by getting the ball to all-reliable Antonio Gates. So now it is 23-15. Next came something I hadn't seen as a Charger fan in a very long time. The ball goes to Desmond King, and he takes it all the way back for a Charger touchdown. So now the Chargers need to go for 2 again in order to make it a tie game, which is something when you're down 23-7, I never thought I would see it happen. I thought this game was over a long time ago. So now comes the 2-point conversion. It looks like Rivers is under pressure, but he gets it to Allen, and now the game is tied. 23-7 to 23-23, just like that. Melvin Gordon was out this game, so rookie Justin Jackson had to step up, and he did in a major way, coming up with a clutch touchdown to put the Chargers up 30 to 23. Now, the Steelers came back with a touchdown, and it all came down to this game-winning kick by Michael Badgley that he drilled. Everything about this game screamed that every curse the Chargers had was over. But there was a better game lying ahead of us. We enter with the Chargers down 28 to 14 with 4 minutes left to go in the game. Everything needs to go right offensively and defensively for the Chargers to even have a chance. On 3rd and 13, Patrick Mahomes ends up getting sacked, giving the Chargers the ball back with around 2 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in the game. Up next came two of the best catches from Travis Benjamin I have ever seen. One on a 1st and 10 and the other coming on a critical 4th and 8. The ball placement on that 4th and 8 was one of the best I've ever seen, with Rivers putting in a spot where only Travis Benjamin can get it. With time winding down, a defensive pass interference call put the Chargers on the 1-yard line, and Rivers threw a strike to Mike Williams with 4 seconds to go. Anthony Lynn gets all the credit here with the decision to go for 2. The play call was fantastic, getting Mike Williams the most open he had been all night. This win was the first against the Chiefs since 2013, where the game went to overtime against Kansas City's backups. This game alone solidified Anthony Lynn's time as the head coach for at least the next 2 years. And with 2 good wins under his belt, disaster was bound to strike. The biggest takeaway from the AFC wildcard game with the Chargers was that Gus Bradley came up with a genius plan of putting out 7 defensive backs against the Baltimore Ravens. Some may call it genius, others may call it that he had no other choice, as a lot of our linebackers were injured at this point, so putting in 7 defensive backs was something we probably had to do. Regardless, it ended up working out pretty well for the Chargers. They were able to slow down the action-packed Lamar Jackson triple option offense, but the Chargers offense couldn't do much of anything all game. Phillip Rivers struggled to move the ball downfield, we struggled to convert first downs, we just struggled to get points on the board in general. The Chargers had 12 points come off field goals in the first half alone. And if we had 12 points off field goals in a division game back in 2009, I probably wouldn't have to make this video right now.
Game win streak and a dream season slipping away.
Gus Bradley's 7 defensive back scheme fooled Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, and it allowed the Chargers to squeak by in a nail-biter 23-7. Next week, against the Patriots, however, the Chargers wouldn't be as lucky. Right off the bat, Gus Bradley went right back to his 7 defensive back scheme that just got torn apart by Bill Belichick. They kept the ball on the ground a lot more and were able to pound it up the middle instead of Baltimore's triple option scheme, which really seemed to open up the Chargers defense a lot. Now, to Gus Bradley's defense, he did come with some adjustments this time. He put 1 linebacker on the field to try and stop the run, and it did not work at all. Sony Michel ended with 3 touchdowns in the first half. Rex Burkhead had a touchdown in the first half. Everyone on the Patriots had touchdowns. The score was 35-7, and the game was pretty much over at that point, and it ended another chapter of the Patriots owning the Chargers in the playoffs. I thought Gus Bradley might make some better defensive adjustments in the second half, but there's really not much you can do to adjust when you're down 35-7. The offense, though, did come out a lot better, a lot sharper plays, and they ended up putting up 28 points, but just not nearly enough because the Patriots already had 41 at that point. And everything about this game just sucked all the air out of you as a fan when you're watching the Chargers. In all honesty, I thought this was the year. As soon as we made it out of the wild card, I thought this is the year the Chargers go all the way. Everything seemed to be going right. We weren't choking games, we weren't choking leagues, we weren't missing kicks. And then Brady and Belichick, they just owned us on every aspect of the field. We got entirely out-coached, we got entirely outplayed. Sure, we had some injuries, but man, it was just a depressing way to end the season. To recap the 2018 season, the talent on the team outweighed the inept coaching staff. And the talent put the coaching staff in some very easy decisions, like when to go for two and when to play aggressive. And if it weren't for 2 or 3 games this season, the Chargers easily could have ended up not in the playoffs like the season before and the season after. How do you follow up a 12-4 season? If you are the Kansas City Chiefs, you win a Super Bowl. If you're the Patriots, you go 14-2 and win a Super Bowl. And if you're the Chicago Bears, you go 8-8 and have a quarterback controversy that has been around since the 2017 draft. What if you're the Chargers? How do they follow it up? 5-11 with 1 win against a team above 500. I call this season the late game heroic season because every time it felt like the Chargers were in a position to either win or tie, and it came down to a Phillip Rivers last-minute drive that always ended in an interception. This was the case with the Lions, the Texans, the Steelers, the Titans, the Raiders, and the Chiefs. 6 games total in the whole season. If I had to pick a single game where the entire season went downhill, it was most definitely against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday night. Now, the Chargers coaching staff was completely unprepared for this game. The Chargers offense failed to score any points within the first 3 quarters, and they had no answers for third-string quarterback Duck Hodges and Mr. 2 yards per carry James Conner. Now, on our first 2 drives, the Chargers had back-to-back turnovers, which resulted in back-to-back touchdowns for the Steelers, already putting us in a 14-0 deficit. Everything about the game was sluggish, and the field was taken completely over by Steelers fans. It was just a mess from the start. And the Chargers' leading rusher that game was none other than fresh from holdout Melvin Gordon, who on his extremely fresh legs carried the ball 8 times for 18 yards. Now, this wouldn't be a 2019 Chargers game if there wasn't some sort of late game heroic. And of course, the Chargers did end up coming back to make it 24-17 on the last drive of the game. And of course, there's only one way that can go.
Oh no! Intercepted!
But you know what? Maybe things will start to look up next week against Tennessee. If the season wasn't over against Pittsburgh, it was definitely over against Tennessee. The end of this game featured the boneheaded decision-making that we saw a lot of in the 2020 season. Melvin Gordon, fresh off his contract holdout, came out and had a career game, and had a lot of us thinking maybe we were too harsh on him the last week when he only rushed for 18 yards. Gordon carried the ball 16 times and rushed for an explosive 32 yards. He earned these last carries at the end of the game for sure. I can't think of another player on the field who needs to have the ball in their hands more than Melvin Gordon in order to get this last-second touchdown the Chargers so desperately needed. Oh wait.
Reviewing the play. The runner lost the ball prior to crossing the goal line. It was a clear recovery by the defense. It's a touchdown.
So at the end of the 2019 season, where were the Chargers at? Many thought it was time to move on from Anthony Lynn already, but as I previously mentioned, the Chiefs game guaranteed him at least 2 more seasons after 2018. And many also thought it was time to move on from longtime quarterback Phillip Rivers. I personally thought we should have kept Rivers for 1 more season to be a bridge quarterback, kind of like Drew Brees was, or Alex Smith to Patrick Mahomes. But management obviously thought different, so the decision to move on from Phillip Rivers was made. 2020 would give us Anthony Lynn in his purest form, without all the crazy talent bailing him out.
Austin was tackled in bounds, and you let 15 seconds tick off the clock before you took the timeout. Why not take the timeout earlier there to save time?
I'm not sure.
Like I mentioned, 2020 saw Anthony Lynn in his purest form, and that form was an extremely sluggish offense against the Cincinnati Bengals. Week 2 saw rookie quarterback Justin Herbert on the field for the first time, and to say Herbert performed well is an understatement. Herbert lit up the field out there, catching everyone's attention and putting the league on notice, making throw after throw look easy and seamless. The Chargers had their guy for the future, and with the Chargers defense manhandling Patrick Mahomes, everything looked good for this Week 2 game against Kansas City. But all the Chiefs need is one explosive play from Patrick Mahomes to really break the game open, and that happened on this throw to Tyreek Hill. That was a touchdown, but as you see at the end, Tyreek Hill takes his helmet off, there's no flag, They got a 2-point conversion after that. A little bit of ref ball if you ask me. Then in overtime, Anthony Lynn makes the boneheaded decision to not go for it on 4th and 2 and give the ball to the defending champs, where then Harrison Butker makes 3 straight 60-yard bombs to take the heart out of every Chargers fan watching. But at least the Chargers have their guy for the future and the full support of the coaching staff, right? You'd have to be crazy not to name him the starter for the future, correct? Week 3 can be defined by this one play, which would have worked had the lateral been completed, but it wasn't, so the Chargers came up just short the whole season. So the offense came up a little short against Carolina. No big deal, at least we're up 24-7 against Tom Brady and the Bucs. I mean, there's no possible way we can blow this lead, right? I mean, so what if we had a costly turnover on our own end of the field that ended up into 7 points? We're still up 24-14. I mean, the offense is rolling, there's no way we can lose. I mean, what's that? Brady just threw another dime to his receiver to make it 24-21? Are you kidding me? I mean, we still have a 3-point cushion at least. Oh, so we didn't get any points the following drive and the Bucs came down again and scored? So now the Chargers don't have the lead anymore? Well, at least we have he's a backup for a reason here, throwing straight missiles to Jalen Guyton to give us the lead back, make it 31-28 at the start of the 4th quarter. I mean, at least now the offense is rolling again, we should be able to stop Brady, right? Surely Gus Bradley made some defensive adjustments to try and stop the Bucs. Oh, the Bucs just drove on us again, took the lead back? Well, at least we have 11 minutes left to go in this game. Let's see what our rookie quarterback can do. Where have I seen this late game scenario before?
Oh no! Intercepted!
Man, I can't believe we blew a 20-point deficit there. I sure hope we don't make it a trend in this season.
Looking for Breeze, quick throw. Sanders got there. Touchdown. Mid-sentence. 53-yard attempt from Will Lutz on the way. It is good. Chargers rush 3. Breeze can step up and throw and complete. There's Jared Cook. First touch of the night is a touchdown. Hill thought about throwing. He's going to run it in for the touchdown.
Okay, so another blown lead. At least we have the money badge to nail this kick.
Off the upright and no good.
Alright, so we should have never been in this situation, but the Saints are kicking a field goal to go up 30-27. With the new overtime rules, the Chargers get at least one chance to score a touchdown. Just short. So back-to-back blown leads. At least it won't happen a third time this season, right?
Finds running room. 40, 20, 10, 5, touchdown Denver. Lock, end zone, caught, touchdown. First down, Lock to throw. Over the middle, and he's got his man. That is Hamilton, and Hamilton to the end zone for the touchdown. Gordon in the backfield with Lock. Lock gonna roll and throw.
A wise man once told me that choking's a process, and that process starts at the top, with the coaches. You can't find this many ways to lose one-score games and still be the head coach of a football team. At one point or another, you're gonna have to start winning. But Anthony Lynn's decision-making on this path to winning just got worse and worse as the season went on. It was a no-brainer that he was gonna get fired at the end of this season. From extremely poor clock management to sending out the kicking unit while the clock is ticking down and you literally have no time, to taking over special teams way too late where the season was already ruined. It's those decisions that got Anthony Lynn fired. Look at this late game situation here. The Chargers end up completing this 4th and 27 Hail Mary, but the very next play they decide to run the ball, and then the play after that we trying to go and do a QB sneak, but all the offensive linemen drop into pass blocking schemes. This is an extreme lack of communication from the head coach. Look at this sequence here. For one, why are the Chargers even running the ball with no timeouts? This is the easiest pass decision you'll ever make. But then they decide to try and send the field goal unit out while the offense is about to run a play with seconds clicking off the clock because you decided to run on 3rd and 1. I haven't even talked about that monstrosity against New England yet.
Well, let me just start out by saying that was one of the worst football games I've ever been a part of in my 30 years in the National Football League as a player and a coach. It's not acceptable, and it's not indicative of the men in the locker room. I watched closely. Not one guy on that field quit. This team will, even in special teams, I think you're going to see a disciplined, tough football team.
Cannot play with them. Cannot win with them. Cannot coach with them. Can't do it. I want winners. I want people that want to win.
Well, what happened was that second game, we got our ass kicked, or the second half. We just got our ass totally kicked. We couldn't do diddly poo offensively. We couldn't make a first down. We couldn't run the ball. We didn't try to run the ball. We couldn't complete a pass. We sucked. The second half, we sucked. We couldn't stop the run. Every time they got the ball, they went down and got points. We got our ass totally kicked in the second half. That's what it boiled down to. It was a horse performance in the second half. Horse. I'm totally embarrassed and totally ashamed. Coaching did a horrible job. The players did a horrible job. We got our ass kicked in that second half. It sucked. It stunk.
We've got to be the dumbest team in America in terms of playing the game. And I'm highly critical because of the way we give games away. We give them away, period. And it's embarrassing.
I just hope we can win a game. Another game.
The New England Patriots game is definitely the straw that broke Dean Spanos' back. From that point on, it didn't matter how many games we won. Anthony Lynn was no longer going to be the coach of the Chargers. It was an incredible 4-year tenure. There's no denying that Lynn had a significant impact on the players and how they thought. But Anthony Lynn is not the coach when it comes to winning football games, and that was made evident all throughout the past 4 seasons. Fans can only hope that we struck gold on the new coach, Brandon Staley, and we aren't left with another Mike McCoy or Norv Turner situation. Only time will tell what the future of the Los Angeles Chargers will hold. But for now, it's time to just sit and wait.